Every single one of us carries within our hearts a quiet longing. The longing to matter, to be noticed, to feel special in someone's eyes. No matter how strong, independent, or self-sufficient we appear on the outside, the truth is that human beings are wired for connection. We are not simply looking to exist in the world, we are searching to be seen in it. And the most beautiful gift you can offer someone is not money, not status, not even words of admiration. It is the gift of making them feel special. But how do we do that? How do we turn simple moments into sacred ones that leave another person feeling worthy and valued? The answer begins with vulnerability. When you allow yourself to show up as you truly are, imperfect, raw, and real, you extend an unspoken invitation for others to do the same. Vulnerability is not weakness, it is the birthplace of connection. By daring to be open, you create a safe space where the other person feels accepted without needing to perform or prove themselves. That safety makes them feel special, because you have told them, without words, you matter exactly as you are. Another way to make someone feel special is through the art of listening. Not listening to reply, not listening to fix, but listening to understand. In a world where most people are rushing to be heard, slowing down to truly hear someone is extraordinary. When you lean in, hold eye contact, and give your undivided attention, you are saying your story matters. Your voice matters. You matter. That kind of listening doesn't just build trust. It elevates the soul of the person speaking. And then there is empathy, the bridge between two hearts. Sympathy says, I feel sorry for you, but empathy says, I feel with you. When you step into someone's shoes, when you dare to feel their joy or their pain, as if it were your own, you transform the interaction into something deeply human. Empathy does not require fixing problems, it requires presence. And presence, my friends, is one of the greatest ways to make someone feel special. We often think it takes grand gestures to show people they matter. Expensive gifts, elaborate surprises, dramatic declarations. But the truth is far simpler. Small, consistent gestures mean more than occasional grandeur. A handwritten note, a genuine smile, a thoughtful message at the right time. The way you remember someone's name or their story, or how they take their tea. These seemingly small acts carry a profound message. I see you. I remember you. You are not invisible to me. And that makes a person feel unforgettable. Finally, making someone feel special is not about changing them. It is about accepting them. When you love someone not for their perfection, but for their humanity, with all their scars, flaws, and quirks, you give them the courage to rest in belonging. To belong is to be cherished not for fitting in, but for standing out exactly as you are. That is the deepest form of feeling special, to know that in someone's heart. You don't have to earn your place because your place was never in question. So today, I invite you to step into your power to create connection. Show up vulnerably, listen deeply, practice empathy, celebrate the small moments, and most importantly, remind the people in your life that they belong. Because at the end of the day, it isn't titles, possessions, or achievements that make us feel special. It is the sacred gift of being truly seen and truly loved. To understand how to make someone feel special, we must first grasp the power of vulnerability. Vulnerability is often misunderstood in our culture as weakness, fragility, or something to be hidden. But in truth, it is the most courageous act we can offer another human being. Vulnerability is the willingness to show up as we truly are, without a mask, without rehearsed perfection, and without hiding the messy, complicated parts of ourselves. It is the moment we decide that authenticity is worth more than approval, that connection is worth more than image. And when you dare to be vulnerable with someone, you give them the permission to be vulnerable too. That is where true connection lives. When we hide behind our armor, people cannot see us. And if they cannot see us, they cannot connect with us in any meaningful way. To make someone feel special, you have to show them that you trust them with your truth, that you are willing to be open, and in doing so, you say to them, you are safe here, and you matter enough for me to show up fully. Imagine a conversation where both people are trying to impress one another, where each is carefully curating their words to appear strong, successful, unshaken. The exchange may look polished on the surface, but it lacks depth. It is like two actors reading lines from different scripts. The performance may look fine, but no genuine connection is made. Now imagine instead a moment where one person admits, I don't have it all figured out. Sometimes I feel afraid. Sometimes I doubt myself. Instantly, the dynamic shifts. The other person exhales, feels a release, and realizes they too can put down their mask. Vulnerability is contagious in the best way. It invites reciprocity, and in that sacred exchange of honesty, both people walk away feeling more connected, more valued, more seen. That is how vulnerability makes someone feel special. It says to them, you are not alone in your struggle. I trust you enough to let you see the real me. There is something profoundly honoring in being trusted with someone else's truth. Think of the times someone has told you a story they rarely share, or admitted a fear, or confided a dream they were too shy to express openly. In that moment, you did not just hear words, you held a piece of their soul. And that act of trust makes you feel significant in their life. When you reverse the roles and allow someone else to see your soul, you give them the same gift. Vulnerability transforms interactions from transactional exchanges into moments of shared humanity. It is in those unguarded spaces where people feel the most special, because they realize they are not dealing with a polished image or a scripted response. They are experiencing you. Making someone feel special through vulnerability also means resisting the temptation to control how we are perceived. So often, we hide behind perfectionism, thinking that if we present ourselves flawlessly, people will admire us. Yet admiration is not the same as connection. Someone may admire your success, your confidence, or your accomplishments, but admiration keeps them at a distance. Connection draws them close. And the bridge between distance and closeness is vulnerability. People don't fall in love with perfection, they fall in love with authenticity. They don't feel special when you show them how invincible you are. They feel special when you show them you trust them enough to share your fragility. Consider how children form bonds. A child doesn't connect by showing off perfection, they connect through openness. They laugh loudly, cry freely, and speak their feelings with raw honesty. And because they are unguarded, others feel drawn to them. Adults, however, have learned to armor up, to hide sadness, to cover fear, to suppress joy in fear of looking silly. And yet, the moments when we break through that armor, when we cry in front of someone and they don't turn away, when we laugh so hard our dignity disappears, when we admit we are scared and someone holds our hand, those are the moments we remember for the rest of our lives. Those are the moments that make us feel special. The paradox of vulnerability is that what we often believe will make people turn away from us is usually what draws them closer. You might think that revealing your insecurities will make someone lose respect for you, but often it deepens their respect. You might think that admitting your mistakes will make someone think less of you, but usually it makes them trust you more. Vulnerability is magnetic because it is rare in a world obsessed with filters and facades. By being real, you stand out. And by being real with someone, you tell them silently, you are worthy of the real me. That silent message is powerful enough to make anyone feel treasured. Of course, vulnerability is not about oversharing every detail of your life or spilling your pain recklessly. It is about intentional openness. It is about choosing to let your guard down in moments where connection is more important than protection. When you open up wisely, you tell someone, I trust you with this piece of me. That trust is what makes them feel special. And when they reciprocate, you both walk away carrying not just words exchanged, but a bond formed. Think about the relationships that have touched you most deeply. Were they the ones where everything was polished, rehearsed, and perfect? Or were they the ones where there was honesty, sometimes even messiness, but always truth? We remember the people who allowed us to see their fears, their hopes, their humanity. And we feel special when they let us into that space. Vulnerability doesn't just connect us, it immortalizes moments. To make someone feel special through vulnerability is to say, I see you, and I want you to see me too. It is to take off the armor, to put down the script, and to trust that connection is stronger than performance. It is to recognize that when we dare to be seen, we light a spark in others that tells them they too can be seen. And when two people dare to be seen by each other, the bond that forms is unbreakable. That bond is what makes life meaningful. That bond is what makes people feel truly special. In the end, vulnerability is not weakness, but the purest form of courage. It is the pathway to intimacy, the foundation of trust, and the essence of love. To make someone feel special, you don't need grand gestures, perfect words, or flawless masks. You need only to be real. Because when you show someone the truth of who you are, and they accept it, you both discover the greatest truth of all, that being seen for who you really are is the most special feeling in the world. Listening is one of the simplest acts a human being can do, yet it is also one of the rarest gifts we can offer. We live in a noisy world where everyone is speaking, posting, sharing, and trying to be heard, but very few are truly listening. Most of the time, when someone speaks, the person on the other end is already preparing their response, interrupting with their own story, or distracted by their own thoughts. This creates an invisible wall between people, a subtle message that says, your words are not as important as mine, or worse, your voice is not worth my full attention. But when someone listens deeply, with genuine interest and presence, it transforms the interaction. It tells the speaker, without needing any fancy words, you matter. Your story matters. You are important enough for me to pause my world and enter yours. That is how deep listening makes someone feel special. To listen deeply is more than hearing sounds. It is about being fully present. It means putting aside your phone, silencing your thoughts, and giving another person the gift of your undivided attention. True listening requires us to put our ego on hold, to resist the urge to compare, fix, or hijack the conversation. Instead, it is about leaning in with curiosity and compassion, about wanting to understand not just the words being spoken, but the heart behind them. When you listen at this level, you are not just gathering information, you are witnessing a soul. And to be witnessed in such a way is one of the most profound ways a person can feel special. Think about the last time someone really listened to you. Not the casual nodding or the distracted, ooh, kind of listening, but the kind where you felt the person was entirely focused on you, as if you were the only one that mattered in that moment. How did it feel? Chances are it made you feel lighter, respected, validated, maybe even cherished. Now contrast that with the times you have spoken, and the other person was glancing at their phone, interrupting to talk about themselves, or dismissing your feelings. One experience left you feeling significant, the other left you feeling invisible. That contrast shows us the extraordinary power of listening. Deep listening is also an act of humility. It requires us to accept that we do not have all the answers, that sometimes people don't need our advice, our solutions, or our clever comments. Sometimes they simply need us to hold space for their words, to sit with them in their truth, whether it is joyful, painful, confusing, or uncertain. When we jump too quickly to respond, we rob people of the experience of being heard. But when we listen deeply, we give them the healing that comes from expression. People often find their own clarity simply by speaking out loud to someone who listens well. In that sense, listening is not passive at all. It is an active form of love. The reason deep listening makes someone feel special is that it tells them they are worthy of attention. In a world where attention is one of the most sought after currencies, to give yours freely and generously is an act of honor. Attention says, I see you. I hear you. You are not invisible to me. And for someone who may be struggling, lonely, or overlooked, that feeling can be life-changing. Listening validates existence. It says your thoughts are not trivial. Your emotions are not silly. Your experience is worth being shared. And that validation can make someone feel not just special, but profoundly alive. Another aspect of listening that creates connection is empathy. To listen with empathy means not only to hear words, but to step into the other person's experience, to try to feel what they are feeling, to imagine what it might be like to be in their position. Empathetic listening does not judge or correct, it absorbs, reflects, and acknowledges. It might sound like, that sounds really hard, or, I can see how much this matters to you. These responses are not about fixing, but about affirming. They tell the speaker, I hear not just your words, but your heart. And that is what makes them feel special. Knowing that someone cared enough to meet them where they are, rather than pulling them to where they should be. Deep listening also means noticing what is unsaid. Sometimes the pauses, the hesitations, the silences carry more weight than the words. A good listener pays attention to tone, body language, and energy, not just vocabulary. If someone says, I'm fine, but their voice trembles or their shoulders slump, a deep listener will sense the truth behind the words and gently invite more. This attentiveness communicates profound care. It shows that you are not just hearing sounds, but paying attention to the whole person. And when someone realizes you have noticed what others overlook, they feel incredibly valued. They feel like they matter enough for you to look beyond the surface. Of course, listening deeply requires patience, and patience is love in slow motion. In a world addicted to speed and instant gratification, slowing down for someone is a radical act of kindness. When you sit with someone, without rushing them, without pushing for efficiency, you are saying, you are worth my time. And time is one of the most precious things we can give, because it can never be taken back. Offering someone your time through listening is like saying, for this moment, my world stops for you. That kind of attention can make someone feel incredibly special, even if nothing extraordinary is said in the conversation. Sometimes we underestimate how much listening matters. We think we need to say the perfect words to comfort or inspire someone. But often, words are not what people remember. They remember how we made them feel. And one of the simplest ways to make someone feel loved, respected, and cherished is to listen deeply. Many conflicts could be resolved, many hearts could be healed, and many bonds could be strengthened if people simply listen to each other more. Listening does not cost money. It does not require special training. It only requires the willingness to care enough to be present. And yet, its impact can be greater than any gift you could buy or any advice you could give. When you choose to listen deeply, you are making a powerful statement. Right now, you are the most important person in the room. Imagine what that does to someone's spirit. Imagine how rare it is in their daily life to feel that level of undivided attention. By offering it, you elevate them. You tell them they are significant. You make them feel special in a way that no material possession ever could. And when people feel special in your presence, they remember it. They remember you. They trust you. They want to stay connected with you, because you give them something so rare and so precious, the gift of being heard. So deep listening is not just a skill. It is a form of love, a form of respect, and a form of recognition. It is how we take the invisible and make it visible. It is how we take the overlooked and make them honored. And it is how we transform ordinary conversations into extraordinary connections. To listen deeply is to value a person's soul. And to value someone's soul is to make them feel truly, undeniably special. When we think about how to make someone feel special, we often imagine grand acts of kindness, beautifully chosen gifts, or elaborate displays of affection. Yet, one of the deepest ways to make a person feel truly valued is far less visible but infinitely more powerful. It is the act of empathy. Empathy is the ability to step into another person's world, to feel with them rather than for them, to stand beside them in their joy or their pain and whisper through your presence, "You are not alone." Sympathy, on the other hand, keeps a distance. Sympathy says, "I feel sorry for you," from the safe side of the fence, while empathy crosses the fence and says, "I am here with you, and I see your experience as if it were my own." That closeness is what builds bridges between hearts. That closeness is what makes someone feel not just noticed, but deeply special. To practice empathy is to resist the temptation to judge or to minimize someone else's feelings. So often when someone shares their struggles, we rush to put their pain into perspective. We say things like, "It could be worse," or "At least you have," or "Everything happens for a reason." While these statements may come from good intentions, they create a barrier instead of a bridge. They communicate, often unintentionally, that the person's feelings are inconvenient, dramatic, or unworthy of deeper attention. Empathy does the opposite. Empathy sits quietly, opens its heart, and validates the truth of the other person's experience. It says, "Your feelings are real, and they matter to me." To feel that kind of acceptance is one of the most special experiences we can have as human beings. Imagine someone grieving the loss of a loved one. Sympathy might sound like, "I can't imagine how you feel. I'm so sorry for your loss." These words are kind, but they remain outside the circle of pain. Empathy, however, leans in closer. Empathy might sound like, "I know there are no words to ease your pain, but I want you to know I am here, and I will sit with you in this hurt." Empathy doesn't try to erase the pain, it honors it. And when someone sits with you in your darkest moments without rushing you, fixing you, or dismissing you, you feel profoundly cared for. You feel important. You feel special because they have chosen to share the weight of your heart. Empathy is not reserved only for sorrow. It is equally powerful in moments of joy. Think of the times when something wonderful happened to you. A promotion, a creative breakthrough, a small personal victory, and you shared it with someone who brushed it off or changed the subject. That response probably made you feel deflated, as if your joy was too small or unimportant to be celebrated. Now think of a time when someone's eyes lit up with yours, when they shared your excitement fully, as if your success were their own. That is empathy too. It is the act of entering another person's emotional landscape and affirming it. Whether the landscape is one of grief, frustration, excitement, or hope. To meet someone in their feelings, to echo back to them that they are not isolated in their inner world, is to give them one of the rarest gifts of all. The reason empathy bridges the gap between hearts is because it removes the illusion of separateness. Human beings often walk through life believing they are alone in their struggles, alone in their insecurities, and even alone in their joys. Empathy dissolves that illusion. It says, "Your experience is my concern. Your joy adds to my joy. Your pain is something I will hold space for." It creates a bond that transcends words and builds trust on a foundation of shared humanity. When someone experiences that bond, they do not just feel seen, they feel cherished. They feel like their inner world matters deeply to someone else. That is what makes them feel special. Empathy requires courage, because to feel with someone means we allow ourselves to be touched by their emotions. If they are grieving, we risk grieving with them. If they are anxious, we risk feeling the tremors of their fear. If they are elated, we risk opening our hearts wide enough to share in their joy. Many people avoid empathy because it feels uncomfortable to be vulnerable in the presence of another's emotions. Sympathy allows us to keep distance. Empathy invites us to get close. But it is precisely in that closeness where magic happens. People don't remember who pitied them. They remember who sat with them in their mess without flinching. They don't remember who gave them neat solutions. They remember who shared their burden and reminded them they weren't alone. Empathy is also an active choice. It requires attention, intention, and presence. When someone shares their heart, you cannot be halfway listening or mentally distracted. To practice empathy, you must tune in with your whole being. Ears, eyes, heart, and body language. You lean forward, you soften your voice, you create space for silence when needed. These subtle but powerful cues say, I am fully with you. When someone senses that level of presence, they know they matter. They know they are important enough to hold your undivided attention. That realization makes them feel treasured in a way that no material gift ever could. Another element of empathy is validation. Empathy does not argue with someone's emotions, it acknowledges them. If someone says, I feel scared, empathy does not respond. Don't be scared, there's nothing to worry about. That may sound reassuring, but it invalidates the emotion. Empathy instead says, I can understand why you feel scared. It makes sense given what you're facing. Validation doesn't mean you agree with every perspective. It means you honor the reality of their feelings. When someone feels validated, they feel respected at the deepest level. They feel that their internal world has value, and that recognition is profoundly special. The beauty of empathy is that it does not require perfection. You don't have to say the perfect thing. You don't have to take away the pain or amplify the joy flawlessly. You simply need to be willing to step into another person's emotional space and be there fully. Sometimes the most empathetic response is silence. A hand held, a nod of understanding, a tear shed alongside theirs. These unspoken gestures often communicate more love than 1,000 polished words. And the person receiving your empathy will remember how you made them feel seen, honored, and important. In the end, empathy is the bridge because it transforms separation into togetherness. It transforms loneliness into belonging. It transforms the feeling of being, one among many, into the feeling of being the one who matters right now. And when you give someone that gift, when you choose empathy over sympathy, you etch yourself into their memory, not as someone who looked at their life from a distance, but as someone who walked beside them. That closeness is what every human heart longs for. That closeness is what makes a person feel truly special. One of the deepest desires within every human heart is to belong. To belong is not simply to be included in a group or to be tolerated in a space. It is to feel that you are accepted as you are, without needing to edit yourself, without needing to perform, without needing to prove that you are worthy of staying. Belonging is the experience of knowing that even with your flaws, your scars, your mistakes, and your quirks, you still have a place. You are still wanted. You are still loved. That is why acceptance is at the root of true belonging, and why perfection will never lead us there. People do not feel special when they are loved for a mask they wear. They feel special when they are loved for the person they really are. The tragedy is that many of us spend much of our lives chasing perfection in order to gain love. From childhood, we are often praised when we achieve, when we excel, when we fit into certain molds. Slowly, we internalize the message that we must earn belonging through flawless performance. So, we hide the parts of ourselves that feel messy or unworthy. We suppress our vulnerabilities, cover our scars, and try to present a version of ourselves that will be acceptable to others. Yet even when we succeed, even when we manage to impress, something feels hollow. That hollowness comes from the fact that what is being accepted is not the real us, but a carefully crafted image. Deep down, we know that as long as our belonging depends on perfection, it is conditional. Conditional belonging never makes us feel truly special. It only makes us feel temporarily safe. Acceptance, on the other hand, is unconditional. Acceptance says, I see your light, but I also see your shadows, and both are welcome here. Acceptance says, you do not have to be flawless for me to stand by you. You do not have to fix yourself before you are worthy of my love. When someone offers that kind of acceptance, it feels like a warm home after a long journey. It is where the soul can finally rest. And it is in that rest where someone feels deeply special, because they realize they are valued not for what they do, but for who they are. To make someone feel special through acceptance is to embrace their imperfections as part of their humanity. It is to look at their quirks and say, I cherish that about you. It is to see their past mistakes and say, I don't define you by them. It is to witness their struggles and say, you are still worthy of love in the middle of this. When you love someone with that kind of acceptance, you create a sense of belonging that no amount of achievement could ever secure. They no longer feel the need to hustle for worthiness. They know they are safe in your presence. And that safety is one of the greatest gifts you can ever give. Belonging through acceptance also means allowing space for authenticity. When people feel they must perform to be liked, they lose their true selves in the process. But when they are accepted, they feel free to express their real emotions, their real dreams, their real fears. They don't have to filter their words or hide their tears. They can laugh loudly, cry openly, and share their unpolished truths. That freedom to be authentic is what makes them feel special, because it tells them, you are enough without editing. Imagine how rare and powerful it is in a world filled with pressure to present perfection, to encounter someone who says, you are perfect for me, not because you are flawless, but because you are real. The difference between perfection and acceptance is also evident in how people deal with failure. When belonging is tied to perfection, failure becomes a threat. It feels like one mistake could cost you love, one misstep could make you unworthy. That pressure breeds anxiety and shame. But when belonging is rooted in acceptance, failure is not the end of connection. It is simply a chapter in the story. The person who accepts you will remind you that your mistakes do not erase your worth. They will help you grow without withdrawing love. That kind of response makes you feel special because it assures you that you are not loved for being untouchable. You are loved for being human. To cultivate belonging through acceptance also requires vulnerability on both sides. Acceptance is not blind, it sees the whole truth. But instead of running away, it stays. And when someone stays not only in your successes, but also in your lowest points, the bond deepens. That bond says more than words ever could. You don't have to impress me to keep me. I choose you as you are. That level of loyalty is unforgettable. People may forget the ones who praise their achievements, but they will never forget the ones who held them through their failures. That memory of being accepted at their lowest will make them feel special for the rest of their lives. Belonging through acceptance also transforms the way people see themselves. When you consistently accept someone, you help them internalize a new narrative. Instead of believing, I am only lovable when I'm perfect, they begin to believe, I am lovable as I am. That shift in identity is life-changing. It frees them from the exhausting pursuit of perfection and allows them to rest in the truth of their worthiness. In time, your acceptance becomes part of their inner voice, a reminder that they don't have to prove their value to be loved. That gift lasts long after the moment has passed. Perfection, by its nature, is unsustainable. None of us can uphold flawless standards forever. If belonging depends on perfection, It will always be fragile, always at risk of crumbling when reality sets in. But belonging rooted in acceptance is unshakable because it is not tied to performance. It is tied to presence, loyalty, and love. When someone knows they belong with you even in their imperfections, they stop living in fear of losing connection. They can finally relax, breathe, and know, I am safe here. That sense of safety is what makes someone feel truly special, because it is so rare in a world that constantly tells us to earn our worth. In the end, to make someone feel special is not to demand their perfection, but to embrace their humanity. It is to celebrate their uniqueness, hold space for their flaws, and remind them that they are enough. Belonging will never be found in flawless performance. It will always be found in acceptance. And when someone knows they belong with you, not because they meet some standard, but because you have chosen them as they are, they will feel more special than any grand gesture could ever make them feel. They will know they are not just liked for what they do, but loved for who they are. And that kind of love is the most extraordinary gift we can give another human being.